Japan isn't exactly living in the future, because even though in the US you can sign documents with a quick e-sign on your phone or laptop, in Japan many important things still depend on a small personal stamp called a hanko. Imagine walking into a bank like you would in America, giving your name, address, and ID. Everything looks good, but then they ask for your hanko, and if you don't have it, the whole process can get delayed or even stopped. It feels strange, right? In a country famous for bullet trains and cutting-edge tech, something this traditional is still part of everyday life, but things are slowly changing as more places start accepting digital signatures and moving away from stamps, so Japan isn't really behind, it's just balancing tradition with the future. Why do people in Japan often avoid eye contact? A lot of people assume it means someone is being rude or doesn't want to talk, but that's only part of the truth. In many places, making steady eye contact shows confidence, honesty, and attention. But in Japan, communication works a bit differently. Eye contact is usually softer and less direct, and that's intentional. In everyday situations like crowded trains or convenience store counters, people often look away to respect personal space and keep things comfortable. Strong or prolonged eye contact can feel a little too intense or even aggressive. So when someone avoids your gaze, it doesn't mean they're unfriendly. It can actually mean they're being polite, listening carefully, or just naturally shy. Instead of reading it as disinterest, it's more accurate to see it as a quiet form of respect. In Japan, loneliness has quietly become a serious issue, especially among young people. Surveys suggest that around 1 in 3 people experience loneliness to some degree, with higher levels often seen in those in their 20s and 30s. Many live alone, not always by choice, but because modern life makes it harder to build close, lasting connections. In a culture that values staying strong and not burdening others, people often hide their struggles behind polite smiles while going through busy routines. Even in crowded cities like Tokyo, it's possible to feel invisible, with very little meaningful interaction throughout the day. That loneliness shows up in small moments, lingering a little longer in a convenience store, or pausing before stepping into a quiet, empty apartment. People are often taught to keep their feelings to themselves, but deep down, many are still hoping someone will notice them and remind them they're not alone. 3 reasons why Japan got rich, but never got fat. First, money never sleeps, and Japanese workers are known for long hours, but it's not about skipping meals. Instead, they stick to disciplined routines and eat smaller, balanced portions rather than overeating like many fast-paced lifestyles in the US. Next, efficiency rules everything. Trains run exactly on time, meetings start on schedule, and daily life is highly structured. Plus, people walk a lot and rely on public transportation, which naturally keeps them active compared to car-dependent lifestyles. But the real secret is mindset. In Japan, nothing goes to waste, and people practice eating until they're about 80% full, helping them avoid overeating and stay healthy long term. One thing in Japan that might feel rude at first, but is actually a form of respect. Even though Japan is known for being extremely polite and welcoming, you might notice that some locals avoid interacting with foreigners. But here's the real reason. Japan is a very homogeneous country, with about 97 to 98% of the population being Japanese, and English isn't widely spoken. Japan typically ranks in the low to moderate range on global English proficiency indexes. So instead of risking saying something wrong, feeling awkward, or accidentally offending you, many people choose to stay quiet or keep their distance. In Japanese culture, avoiding discomfort or misunderstandings is very important, and sometimes saying nothing at all is seen as more respectful than saying the wrong thing. So what feels like rudeness is actually their way of being considerate. These 3 behaviors instantly reveal you're a tourist in Japan. First, eating while walking. Tourists love grabbing snacks on the go, dropping crumbs everywhere. But in Japan, eating while walking is generally seen as disrespectful. Food is meant to be enjoyed properly, not rushed. Next, standing wrong on the escalator. In places like Tokyo, people stand on the left and walk on the right. But it actually depends on the region. Like in Osaka, it's the opposite. So if you block both sides or don't follow locals, you'll instantly stand out. And the biggest giveaway is bowing. Tourists often bow too deeply or hold it too long, but in Japan, bowing is subtle and precise. If you're not sure, a small, quick nod is perfectly fine, because overdoing it just looks awkward instead of respectful. This is why many Japanese people appear so pale. And while most people assume it's just genetics, in Japan it's actually a mix of beauty standards and everyday habits. See, the weather changes changes across the country, and skin tones vary too. In colder areas like Hokkaido, lower UV exposure can make it easier to stay lighter. But in warmer places like Okinawa or Fukushima, the sun is much stronger, so avoiding a tan is harder. So how do many people keep their skin lighter year-round? In Japan, sun protection is a big deal. During summer, a lot of people wear long sleeves, use high SPF sunscreen, and carry UV umbrellas, or wear hats and face coverings to block the sun. Some also use skin brightening products, but myths like using lotus leaves aren't actually real. 3 reasons why Japan isn't exactly living in the future. First, many schools follow a strong sense of collective responsibility, so if one student breaks a rule, sometimes the whole class faces consequences. It's because the system focuses more on group harmony than individual freedom, teaching students to think about how their actions affect everyone else. Next, there's the Senpai Kohai system, where younger students are expected to respect seniors and often handle tasks like carrying gear or doing basic chores, especially in school clubs. Lastly, there's a strong culture of endurance. Students are expected to show commitment by showing up every day, participating in activities even in tough conditions like rain, and following strict school rules, including uniforms. It might feel strict compared to the US, but in Japan, it's all seen as part of building discipline. 3 reasons why you might feel like you don't fit beauty standards in Japan. First, beauty there often focuses on natural proportions, like a smaller looking face, delicate features, and a slim body. And while you can change your style or get in shape, your bone structure isn't something you can really change anywhere. Second, there's a strong preference for smooth, hair-free skin, but it's not that people are naturally hairless. This look usually comes from consistent grooming, while people from other backgrounds may naturally have more visible hair. And third, the cultural side of beauty, where being soft-spoken, polite, and not drawing too much attention is often seen as attractive. So even if you're considered really attractive in the US, in Japan you might still be seen as a beautiful outsider rather than someone who fully fits local beauty standards. Ranking the 3 weirdest rules in Japan. Third, a lot of schools don't allow students to dye their hair, and if your hair is naturally lighter, you sometimes have to prove it with a baby photo, or you're told to darken it. Second, tattoos can get you kicked out of public baths, hot springs, or some gyms, because in Japan, tattoos have long been linked to the Yakuza, so visible ink can still make people nervous. And the weirdest rule of all, no tipping. Unlike in the US, tipping isn't expected in restaurants, taxis, or hotels. And if you try to leave a tip, staff might hand it back, since giving great service is already just part of the job. 3 rules in Japan that tourists always break. First, never take photos of strangers. That person in a kimono might look amazing, but in Japan, privacy comes first. So always ask before taking a picture, or just let it go. Next, using your phone on trains is a big no-no. Even a quiet call can bother everyone, because Japanese subways are basically unofficial quiet zones. And the biggest mistake, tipping. Unlike in the US, tipping isn't expected in restaurants, taxis, or hotels, and if you try to leave money, staff might hand it back, since giving great service is already part of the job. 3 school rules in Japan that just make sense. First, many schools strictly limit phone use. Students often have to keep their phones off or stored away during school hours to avoid distractions. Next, high schools like Shinjuku Yamabukai High School let students build their own schedules, picking the classes they need and earning credits at their own pace before graduation. And the coolest part? Tourists can actually try a Japanese school for a day. You can put on a uniform, join the classes, and even clean the classroom. It's basically Japanese high school turned into a unique, hands-on experience.